Hi everybody, welcome back to Electric Cafe. This review, or this video, is about some of the albums that I've been listening to the last month or so. Just thought I'd review some of them, and if you're interested in some of them, I did it in a deeper review in if you want to check my channel. But just kind of wanted to go over some of the stuff that I've been listening to the last month or so. This is Black Dog's 1993 album, The Temple of Transparent Balls. I reviewed this album a little earlier this month, 1993, I think on GPR, General Production Recording, back in 93. Really strong album. Some ambient techno, and a little bit of like sort of post-rave stuff. I like saying post-rave because I don't like the word IDM, and I don't like the word, and I don't, and there's two different definitions of IDM, in my opinion. There's IDM that normally people think of like Autek and Aphex Twin. But then there's also the original IDM, which is like Black Dog and Bola and Stasis and a lot of the ambient techno. And some people kind of combine them into IDM for a couple of years there. And in my opinion, IDM is more the jittery, faster drum loops and almost it's almost based on jungle and hardcore and just having like a melodic tone over it. That's kind of where the jitteriness comes from, in my opinion. It comes from also drill and bass is in there too. I mean, it's quintessential Aphex Twin. I mean, but if you listen to Black Dog, there is a little bit of IDM every once in a while. There might be a song that's IDM, especially back in '93. But if you anything after like '95 and stuff like that, and you call anything intelligent dance music, it's just ambient techno. It's a lot more straightforward than intelligent dance music. It's more thoughtful. It's more moody, melodic, introspective. Run through all those adjectives, but it doesn't have the fast beat, and it doesn't have the quicker melody over the top of it. I mean, that's kind of the IDM that I think about, the drill and bass that's kind of tied to that. If you guys know like Aerovane and Lackluster and yeah, Autek and Aphex Twin and Bola and Phonem and Phoenicia, and I mean there's tons of bands that I like under the IDM. I recently did a top 40 favorite IDM artists. But when I think of something like Black Dog, that's ambient techno to me. I just like to differentiate the two because they are a big difference, and a lot of times people think that that is IDM, and I get it. It's tied in there, and since they started the same around the same time, 92, 93, 91 in the UK, but it's in my opinion it's different. Um, I reviewed this album a little bit earlier this month. Tyranny for You got a really good score, by the way. If you want to check out the in-depth review, just check out the playlist here and check out my review of Tyranny for You, 1991 album, Front 242, awesome album. Um, Rated it even a little bit better than I thought. I knew I'd rate it good, but there was a couple songs there I was like, okay, this might bring it down a little bit, but I was surprised, and happy to say it's a really consistent album. I didn't review this album recently, but just been listening to it a lot. I am a big Peter Murphy, Bauhaus, Love and Rockets, Dolly's Car fan, Mick Karn's fan, Japan fan, and this is their collaboration. It's called The Waking Hour. This is the original vinyl copy, and I think they reissued this recently in a couple different colors. This came out in 1983. It's an interesting album. It's kind of, I wouldn't say it's Eastern because I think Peter Murphy at the time was just kind of I don't know if he's a Buddhist, but he lives in Turkey, and also lives I think in L.A. So he has that kind of rock and roll, but also he does he's married, and he has seems like he lives kind of two different lives sometimes, but he's a very introspective person, and this kind of has like I don't know if it's a Turkish sound or if it's an Eastern sound, but definitely has like a sort of like an Indian sound on it. But Mick Carnes' fretless bass, amazing. Some melodies in here. Peter Murphy singing. I wish they would have done a second album. I'll have to review that sometime. Uh, Gary Newman's 1983 album, or 82 album, Warriors. Love the title song on here. He's definitely doing the Blade Runner look on here, but, or I'm sorry, Mad Max look, but in my opinion, Gary Newman is the original Mad Max of electronic music. You can see there. He's ready to hit the streets. Solid album. I'll probably start reviewing some Gary Newman albums. I do have the first, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 albums up to like, I like his stuff with Two Bay Army, and then also the stuff through his first like 4 or 5 solo songs. I do like the stuff he's done in recent years as well, but I don't have any of it. He kind of lost his way in the later 80s, just probably, a little confused on his direction and where his place in history music was, and, but he's always had some really good music, so I would doubt myself saying that there isn't some good music in the later 80s and maybe 90s of his music, but, I really like the more analog sound on the earlier stuff, and I've always been a big Two Way Army fan, and, yeah, Gary Newman. Classic. I don't know if that album's a classic, but, he's a classic. This is an interesting one I've been listening to, Steel Blue. So this is sort of a, this is like from 1967, it says. This is kind of a, an introduction at the 1966 United States Steel Automotive Presentation in Detroit. So this is kind of like music for the maybe World Car Fair at the time in Detroit, and kind of shows all the futuristic music. And I like odd albums. I like, this is definitely a cool artwork. I love Detroit techno, and seeing something like this, on the shelf, I'll always buy something that looks interesting. And this, it's featuring Jack Brokensa and Lenora Paxton. A Taste of Honey, Girl Talk. It was a very good year. Our Love Affair. So just kind of background music that they chose for the I guess for the car show. I mean, they just call it something differently back in here, but check out that cool, like, almost looks like a Pinto, but like a futuristic Pinto. But yeah, I'm always down to buy some odd albums here and there. Yeah, I got this a couple, maybe like, I don't know, 7 or 8 years when I was digging in record stores. Here's another interesting one that I bought just because of the cover. I'm a big fan of airships and planes and battleships and World War II combat and stuff like that. That's kind of a interesting thing. I just like the history of things that fly and machines and stuff like that. And this is music for the movie for Hindenburg. I think this came out, looks like 1975. Starring Anne Bancroft. Charles Durning's in it. Burgess Meredith. Burgess Meredith's a great actor. But yeah, George C. Scott. So this is kind of music from, if you guys remember in the middle 70s, there's a lot of apocalyptic, end of the world, disaster movies that were that were really popular, like Airport and The Poseidon and Earthquake and all those kind of movies that were Airport, like just like destruction movies that were really popular. It was kind of like the first. I wouldn't say it's like modern Marvel. I mean, modern Marvels. The Marvels movies, almost like the first superhero movies, or the first blockbuster movies. But in a way, a lot of these early 70s, late 70s movies uh, that were kind of tied to some like major event or destruction or something like that, were kind of the first movies to really, um, just trying to be blockbusters and not necessarily make a quick buck, but just kind of gather all these stars together and make a I don't know, a disaster movie and try to rake in some money. I don't know. It's strange when that, and a lot of them weren't good. And then of course got into like horror movies, and you had the Swarm and all kinds of animal disaster movies, and that kind of set up for the '80s horror movies. But just bought that because of the album cover. I like buying album covers sometimes, and I haven't got a chance to listen to that one yet, but I'm gonna listen to that one today. Um, Vision of Panorama. This is I can't remember where these guys are from, but they sort of do a sort of Balearic ambient house, and I've really liked their music since they came out. I think roughly about 8 years ago. I think I have about probably like 6 or 7 of their first 9 or 10 records or something like that. I really like them. Again, it's kind of like if you guys know about the city pop kind of thing, there's also kind of something going on for the last few years in house music and ambient music, and there's kind of a '80s sort of, I wouldn't say city pop, but because there's not singing in here and it's not but it is kind of like Balearic kind of chill out music that has kind of sort of down tempo and house music and ambient music, and it's kind of based off the Cafe Del Mar sound in the early '90s, and it really can be anything that's really kind of laid back and chill and kind of non-intrusive, and could be background music, but it could be nice background music for sitting on the beach or and most of the artwork you can tell this one's a little different than a lot of them, but um, a lot of them are a lot kind of sunny and have like pictures of suns on it, and it kind of has that city pop feel like with the covers and stuff like that, but it's more towards house music, ambient music, and electronic music, more so than city pop is like towards '80s vaporwave or synthwave, or not even synthwave. It's more towards Japanese pop music and almost like Japanese R&B, Japanese pop, Japanese anything that really like used a keyboard and was a little bit more adult contemporary and in the period of like 75 to like 85, 87, somewhere around there. But cool band. I'm gonna check them out. Um, this is Seahawks. Seahawks is John Ty and blanking on the other guy's name. These guys do like kind of similar to, this is kind of more like an ambient version of what I was just talking about with Vision of Panorama. This is you can kind of tell kind of celestial, kind of aquatic. That's kind of why they're called Seahawks. I mean, it kind of has that feel. Sorry, I guess I should take off the plastic to show these albums, but most of them, like 95% of my records are housed in plastic. Um, but these guys used to be MLO. If you guys know MLO in the '90s, they recorded on R&S Records and Aura, was it Aura Sounds and Apollo Records, I think. And they had I think like 3 albums in the '90s and maybe like 7 or 8 singles in the '90s, and then they sort of started Low Recordings in the mid '90s, that record label, which is, they have hundreds of releases on there. It's been a really strong label for a long time. They also do music under Ocean Moon, which I really like, and this is their more popular side project, or major project now. And the Seahawks, I think they've been out since about 2010 or 2012. And they do some really nice ambient, kind of aquatic, relaxing, but it's not cheesy and it's not new agey. There might be a touch of new age in there, but this is more geared towards longtime fans of electronic music, whether it be ambient or even house music, or just kind of into the chill out sound. A little bit of classical music, Richard Strauss. Los Angeles Philharmonic, Zubin Mehta. Yeah, I don't have too much to say about this, but I always like listening to cool anything that's kind of spacey in the 60s. It's interesting, like when you listen to, I mean, this is more on classical, but I do collect, um, spacey music from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and whatever it is. And it's interesting, the spacey music in the 50s and 60s. It kind of sounds um, I don't know, almost like a commercial. Like, you know what I mean? It's like there's really nothing avant-garde about it yet. It's just kind of like, but it is kind of. Sometimes you'll get the early sounds of keyboards and like spooky sounds and stuff like that. And back in the 50s and 60s, they didn't necessarily have. Well, early 60s, they didn't necessarily have like Moog synthesizers and stuff like that making strange spacey sounds. So they kind of do it with strings and kind of other thing. But it's kind of the genesis of making futuristic space music and kind of space opera music, and I like that. Of course, the cover is super cool as well. Um, but there's really it's kind of before there's it's if you took out, I guess, if there's no psychedelic in here, there's no psychedelic. There's probably, I don't know, because maybe there's no drugs back then, but I don't know. There's in that kind of consciousness of making like minimal music or creepy music, or wouldn't say necessarily creepy music because there is horror movies back then, but or not necessarily horror movies, but darker movies. But they don't really, they're not understanding how to build the tension in a different way and with sounds and stuff like that, and everything's to the max where you got spacey violins and everything's kind of eerie sounding, but it's not really like, it's not necessarily like technology wise, like futuristic, like something in the future. It's kind of like, yeah, I mean, it's classical music, but this is kind of the extreme of it. But there are some more, records in the later 60s that add a little bit more minimalism to it, and starting to kind of be into setting up the precedents to make ambient music by the mid 70s. And it's interesting. Kind of, I'm a big history buff, so anything that kind of like you know tells me about the origins and how the genre kind of evolved, I'm into it, and I don't mind a cool artwork to also put up on the wall. Another cool artwork, Better Land by Brian Auger's Oblivion Express. This is kind of leaning into jazz. It's interesting, the period of like 69 to maybe like 1977 or so, like that, where artists are making these really kind of wild covers, you know, but not necessarily. You would think like this is some really spooky music or really kind of psychedelic music, but it's not really. It's just like they must have been just like, oh, that's a cool album. That's pretty cool. That's different. Oh yeah, okay, it's futuristic. It's cool. But does it sound like this? Not really, but it's cool. I like it. Um, but I definitely like the cover. It's super cool. It almost reminds me of Disneyland, of the auto, the AutoZone thing where they have the cars and they drive around on that. That's kind of what it kind of reminds me of, like Tomorrowland and Disneyland. Cool. Um, yeah. What else? What else we've been listening to this month? A lot of stuff. This one's sorry about this one's got double plastic on it. This is Arabesque. So they're a German disco group. I'm not sure if anybody's heard of them, but they had some big hits in Germany. Like I think like 6 or 7 albums from like 77 or 76, right in the course of like disco years to about 82 or something like that. But um, yeah, beautiful ladies doing disco. I'm a disco baby. I like my disco. I grew up on it. It's kind of branded in me. I didn't know it yet, but my mom was pregnant with me at a Bee Gees concert, and I always think that's funny. That's kind of the origin of why I'm into dance music, because they went to Bee Gees. I think it was at Dodger Stadium, like 70, sometime during late 75, I think. Mark Almond's 1988 album, The Stars We Are. I'll probably do a review on this album in the near future. This is probably like his fourth or fifth album. Well, maybe like third solo album since he left Soft Cell. But Tears on Rings obviously was a big hit on here. But I really like the Stars We Are. Only the Moments, a really good song. Something Got a Hold of My Heart was a big hit in UK. Strong album, good album. I like Mark Almond's period in the '80s up to the early '90s. I do like all the soft cell stuff as well. Um, I did review this on yesterday, I believe, and put it online. It's a China Crisis 1985 album, Flaunt the Imperfection. Really good band. I mean, from like 81 to like 87, all that music in there is so good. I really like that period of music. They do, I mean, they're new wave, they're sort of synth pop, they had some jazz moments, they have a funky bass line, spacey keyboards, really good production. Yeah, they're mixing like so many different genres into one, and it's all really catchy stuff. Really like China Crisis. Um, I reviewed this one yesterday, the Waterboys 1988 album, Fisherman Blues. Um, Gave it a really good rating too. This is definitely one of the better Waterboys album. And yeah, if you want to see my more in-depth review, just check out the playlist and look for it. I think I posted it yesterday. Good album though. Good album. I also reviewed this one yesterday. Big Country's 1984 album, Steel Town. Really solid album. Probably one of their best. And then some of the CDs I've been listening to last month or so. A couple albums from Kit Clayton, Nick, I forget how to pronounce it, Net Sanolet, and I can't remember what this album's called. It's really hard to read the print on here. But anyways, Kit Clayton's, I think these came out in like 99 and maybe like 2001, 2002. These are on Scape Records, and this one's on, starts with, I think it's Vertical. Is it Vertical? Yeah, Vertical Form. So, yeah, these are kind of a mix of like glitch, dub techno, kind of broken techno, a little bit of ambient in there. If you don't know Kid Clayton, check him out. If you like, kind of abstract techno and dub techno, really strong producer. Had a lot of stuff on like Sidetracks label, and he was really prolific from like '97 to like 2004. Had a lot of releases. Um, Here's Legowski. Legowski is a really strong producer. He started out doing industrial in the late '80s, and then kind of evolved into techno around like 91, 92, and does a lot of darker ambient stuff, drone stuff. Definitely a lot of techno in there too, but this is his re-release of False Dawn, I think from 1992, and then they added a second album in it. But a really cool album. I think the original one, yeah, 1991, I think. It shows a picture of his studio right here. But yeah, if you're into like darker drone, that's kind of from somebody with what I think is key too is somebody with an industrial background. I'm wearing all my industrial shirt stuff today, Frontline Assembly, Skinny Puppy. But I love the people that have been into industrial music and have a background in industrial music. Man, they have such a good outlook on making techno, and if you listen to Legalski's techno, like Chromium and Sparks, Blue Spark, like his Vermilion's another one. If you listen, I'm hoping to release something on my label from him in the near future. Reissue something. He's a strong producer, and I really like his work through all the periods of the last 35 years, almost 40 years. But I really like his people that have a background in ambient, background in industrial, and they do like ambient and techno. Like his techno is very much more like EBM and techno. So it's, in my opinion, it's kind of had more of a timeless sound, and his stuff from 1901 sounds a lot better than stuff even from 10 years ago. This is Evolve Now, the Dream EP. It was kind of a mix of ambient, a little bit of drum and bass, a little bit of techno. This is on Instinct Records in 1993. It's a classic EP, Evolve Now, which was Jamie Rudolph. Unfortunately, he doesn't do music anymore. I was hoping to reissue this on compilation, but I got a hold of him, and he said that he didn't necessarily wanted this to represent what he's doing now, and I thought that was odd. I don't know, maybe he's not necessarily proud of this anymore, and I thought that was strange because here I'm wanting it to share his music with other people, and he's not for it. But to each his own. Maybe it's not necessarily how he wants his music represented. And I respect that. It's a little odd though, but I really like this EP. But also there's a good handful, 6, 7, 8 songs of his on compilations on Instinct Records that are really good for the time. I was hoping to gather them all for like a double record, but it didn't work out. The Orb's 1997 album, Orblivion. Looks like I got it upside down here because this CD's broken. Jewel case. This is like their 5th album. 1997. I'll definitely do a review on this, as I need to review some of the other Orb albums, so look for that in the near future. This is their 97 album called the Orblivion. It's solid. It may not be as good as the first. I don't know. What is it? There's Ultra, UF Orb. I don't necessarily call it the live album. That album. Pomfritz. The other one, which I can't pronounce in this one. So I guess this was my fifth record. But yeah, this is kind of their end of their early 90s period anyway. Up and Bustle Out. This album's called One Color Just Reflects Another. I think it's on Ninja Tune Records in 96, I think, or 97. Up and Bustle Out are kind of like if you guys know Ninja Tunes, I wouldn't have to say anything more, but if you don't know Ninja Tune Records, they have kind of like an urban, down-tempo mix of like early electronic music as far as like sample music, like DJ Crush, and influence in hip-hop and sort of down-tempo, but there's also some abstract music in there, some ambient, and then some kind of, really ecstatic stuff like Hexstatic, or there's quite a few good groups on there. Excuse me. And I do like Up and Bustle Out. They do they do kind of a mix of like all kinds of stuff. This one has like some Spanish influences, and just kind of think of like urban kind of down tempo beats. I wouldn't say like Kruder and Dorfmeister or Thievery Corporation, but kind of in that vein of sort of into trip hop, but a little bit more urban, per se, I guess. This is AIM. I guess they're pronounced AIM. It's AME. This is their 2004 techno album. I think they're from Germany. This one's on Innerversion Records, probably, or no, Sonar Collective. Sorry. Some solid techno in here. German techno, 2004. It reminds me a lot of Metro area, and Carrier District by Luke Vibert. So if you like Carrier District or Metro Area, kind of check them out. They had a really big hit with Reg, R-E-G. It was like a huge hit in techno. And, you know, I can't say probably in the 2000s there was probably no bigger hit than this, or maybe Matthew Johnson's Marionette as far as like minimal techno. A huge hit. Um, the Reg isn't on that. This album's after Reg. Phobos, Celestial Harmonics. This is a really. I did a review on Discogs on this last week. Nice of them to sign it. Thank you for your support, Javier. This is. There's not too many copies of this. I want to say there was like either 30 or 50 copies of this. Came out in 2019, but really kind of very minimal. Obviously, it's spacey music. I love spacey music. This one's interesting because the volume is kind of low, which makes you want to turn it up, which I really like that kind of subliminal way of doing. When you turn up the volume on something, there's like a natural harmonics that you hear, subharmonics that you hear more so when you turn up the volume more. It's kind of the opposite of, I don't know if you guys are huge into audio engineering like I am, and mixing and the production and how albums are mastered, but I'm big into it from my past. And one of the things is when you master something really loudly, right? It makes you want to turn it down, and because everything is up here, it's really hard to hear some of the subharmonics in a lot of the sounds. When you put the volume down, it brings up the floor noise. So even though this is a digital album and everything like that, you perceive and you hear, it's almost subliminally like you hear the subharmonics of the sounds in here. So you'll hear the subfrequencies of a lot of the resonance of the sounds. And it's a really cool recording technique, and I do that for all my mixes. I've always recorded my mixes about 5 dB low than, not would say than most people, but where I feel comfortable. So subliminally, it makes you want to turn it up because you're listening to it and you're like, oh, I can't really hear it. Let me turn it up, which is a lot better than putting something that's loud and you're like, oh, it's loud, right? And you turn it down. Like this, it's just going. It's subliminal, but it's also like, if you think about it, like you don't want somebody to turn down your music as soon as you put it on, right? So I mean, make it a little bit lower volume and it'll make people want to listen more intently and turn it up louder. So it's a multi-level, like, sort of engineering trick or artist trick that I really like, and it's subtle, right? It's there's subtle things you can do to make your mastering and your music stand out, and that's a good one, especially for space music. And but this one's very minimal. It really kind of creeps up to you. It's almost hard to explain. I was trying to review it online, and it almost sounds like, you know, especially the thing with music is I always like to put myself in perspective. Like if I said this is great beach music, you know, you would feel like it was okay. It's kind of relaxing background music, and you know, I mean, especially with electronic music. If you guys are into electronic music, you know, I could say it's warehouse rave music. You know, like peak time rave music, and you're like, oh, okay, I have an idea of what it is. Well, this, if you put yourself in a spot, it's almost like you're watching some sort of like nebula event very far away. So you're not really like, it's not powerful, but it's very distant, and yeah, it's moving, but it's slow moving. So you're watching it from very far, and you're sort of anticipating, excuse me, the sound, maybe the frequencies hitting you or something like that. But just really kind of cool, really cool. I wouldn't say it blows me away, but I do like some of the techniques on here, and it's definitely an album that you can put on in the background. And really enjoy and really get lost in. Like this will put you in a spacey in a spacesuit. Um, this is Meditation by Zygon. Zygon is interesting. This is like what it says. It's a meditation CD. This is from 1992. This Zygon did about like 15 or 20 different ultra meditation CDs, and I believe the guy was a doctor. And it says some things on here. Maybe I should have read it um, before I before I started talking to you about it. But um, yeah, this one's about 30 minutes long, and it's kind of got some repeating chords. Like um, it's got some like waves, and it's kind of verging on new age, but it's also kind of a meditation CD. So it is fairly straightforward, but it's not like for the time for 1992. Again, I'm really into the history of ambient music and things like that. And this isn't like, okay, you're gonna go to your doctor and he's gonna put on something and it's gonna be kind of cheesy and you'd be like, maybe like those wave CDs they had at Target back in the late '90s and early 2000s, where you're like, let me hear in the forest, and you're like, yeah, I'm in the forest. Like it's not cheesy on that level. Like it is deeper. I want to say the guy, I followed him on Instagram for like 10 years, on Facebook. I think he's related to this guy, but I couldn't remember. But he was involved in making a. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Zygon, he was involved, or the doctor was. I think his name was David Thompson or something like that. I can't remember, but he's involved in. He made these chairs. They kind of look like dentist chairs, but they're sort of like relaxing, like leather chairs, and they have speakers in them. And they sort of. He's really involved in being healed by sound, and that's kind of what the seat does. And this is one of his CDs. So cool if you're into meditation CDs, and I wouldn't say it's like yoga, but just anything to relax to. It's very minimal. Um, this one doesn't necessarily go too far. This one's the first edition, Beginner's Mind. I think they all came out like 92, 93, 94. There's quite a few of them. Like I think there was like 15 or so. Something else I listened to this month. I forgot the name of this one. In fact, that is only the second time I've heard it since I purchased it. Uh, Inito Kwa. The album's called 2069. Um, this is kind of like a Japanese artist, and it blew me away because I bought this blind, probably without knowing who it was. I was just ordering something. I thought it looked cool, the artwork, and I'm always interested in expanding my knowledge on Japanese abstract artists, and this one's kind of, I think it came out in 2010 or 2012, somewhere in that, maybe 2009. Um, but this one, I was kind of pleasantly surprised to see my friend Dirk was on. Dirk from Sensorial was on. I think track 6 on here. It's actually one of the best tracks on here. But this is kind of abstract and experimentalism and a little bit of ambient music in here and field recording, and yeah, just kind of an interesting album. I really like experimental Japanese music. Um, but if you need to, if you're curious, and I'll spell it out so you can look it up. It's Enitokwa, and the album's called 2069. So 2069. Um, Another ambient album I'm listening to this last month, Cellar. Is it Nacreous Clouds? This came out in 2007 on Ear. I think it was Ear Records, right? And or Records. I'm sorry. Which I think is his own label. There's quite a lot of songs on here, which sometimes put me. I can't really see how many, but there's like 37 songs on here. A lot of times this puts me off. I tend to like my ambient music long songs, because if you would like it, you obviously want it to be longer in ambient music, and um, so generally I'm put off by 1, 2, 3 minute songs because But in this one, it's interesting because I don't have a lot of albums that do that because I do like longer, and generally ambient albums are longer songs. But this one's interesting because you put it on and it really takes you quite a few listens to memorize it because there's so many songs and you don't know what's coming. It's not like there's 4 or 5 songs on ambient. You're like, okay, we're taking this trip, we're going through this song. Okay, I remember that. Okay, then the song comes on. When there's 37 tracks and they're all like 2-3 minutes, it's really hard to focus on. Take in 2 songs of ambient music. Like you generally sit back and you listen to ambient music in the background, and you kind of soak it in kind of like pieces, right? And that's the great thing about ambient music. You don't have to necessarily like focus in on it and pay attention to. You put in background music. But if you do that on this, you miss like 5-6 songs. If you miss 10 minutes, you're missing 5 songs. So you're like, okay, I've got to pay attention to this. Or maybe you listen to it in sections so you can make sure you get everything. So it's interesting. Again, but then also these are probably just shorter ideas that he has, and he's not necessarily trying to do that. But I think that's kind of a cool technique to. I'm always interested in the way producers, especially in ambient music and all. That's one of the things I love about electronic music is a lot of the producers are really keen to not just making techno or electronic music or just dance music. Like they're into making you think differently, think deeper, experience music deeper in a different way, and uh, move your emotions and things like that in your thinking and excuse me in a lot of different ways. And because they're such short songs, it does make you want to listen to the album differently than a lot of ambient music, and I respect that. That's cool. Um, there's a couple albums by the I guess they're sort of electronic indie folk, indie tronica they call it, sort of, but they're basically an kind of avant-garde electronic music band with rock and kind of folk. They're called Efterklang, so it's EFTER Klang. This is their 2010 or 2012 album, Magic Chairs. Really cool artwork in there. Um, and this is their 2004 album, Tipper. But this is the 2012 or 2010 release where they also added the CD EP Springer. So it's a double cassette. I mean double CD. It has all the stuff in here. Inside here. Really cool. All the words and stuff like that. But this is if you guys know Sugar Ross or Mum, Afterclang is like them. It's got this really dissonant folk, rock, and electronic sound, and but it's got moments of pop in there. It's kind of like if you put um, I don't know. I'm not really into a lot of rock music, so I don't know what to say. Take this band and put them through an electronic processor and you get Afterclang. But if you guys know Mum or Sugar Ross, then Afterclang, you'll really like Afterclang. I think they're from Denmark, but don't quote me on that. Could be Germany. But yeah, Afterclang, really good. I need to get more of their albums. That's the only 2 I have. I got this one this week. I'm gonna play it today. This is I've heard it before. This is Wally Badarou. I always forget how to say his name, but this is Echoes. I think this is from 1984. Yeah, this is one of the Steel Seal too, which is surprising. I wonder if because music on CD. I wonder if this is a reissue, but it looks like an old Island record. That's really interesting. I wonder if they actually. No, it has the music on CD logo on it. This is like I probably would have gotten an original version if I knew this. I didn't know this was the reissue. I didn't know they reissued this. Yeah, it says 2018. Oh, bummer. I don't like you know I don't like to say anything bad about about other reissue labels, but I'm not a huge fan of music on vinyl, if you guys know. Like, they're the ones who did the fax reissues of Dark Side of the Moog, you know, or just some of the reissues. I mean, they're doing so much reissues. They're all over the place. Some of them don't have a lot of pride in the quality of the pressings, and I thought this was original CD when I bought it. I got it on Amazon this week. But yeah, I'm excited to hear about this. I do have a couple other things by Wally. Wally was a keyboard, sort of session keyboard player in the 70s. I think he played with like Stevie Wonder and some other bands. I think, Level 42 he played with. And then he started doing his own albums, and he had like maybe like 4 or 5, 6 albums. And Echoes was one of his ones. I think there's kind of a mix of world music and a little bit of down tempo, maybe a little bit of ambient in here, maybe a little jazz in here, but some keyboard sounds, and that's right up my alley. So I'm looking forward to listening to this again. It's been a while since I heard that. But I always like getting stuff on CD. I still buy CDs. I have no problem. I'm not one of those. I'm a hardcore music collector. I'm not a hardcore format collector. I will buy stuff on any format, and that's the way it should be. Just you're not gonna necessarily go to a record store and get see a pristine copy of something like that. Like, you know, you're gonna run into maybe a cassette or an old CD, and just I always urge people to, if they're getting into collecting music, like, don't think about what formats you want to go with. Just get a record player, get a CD player, get a cassette player, and build your home stereo and be able to play it all. There's enough equipment out there for everybody. There's plenty of great things and things that you will learn about component stereos and just the joy of having a component stereo and the sounds of something. Like, look, I got these speakers back here. These are I still haven't put up my best surround speakers. These are my basic surround speakers. I just haven't got around to, I could put better speakers than I have in the back, but this room is like 12 by 12, so the speakers that I have with background would be a little bit too big for the backgrounds. But those are just $100. I think I got them on. I think I got those. The funny story, that the only time I've ever done a Black Friday rush was at Best Buy in like 2010. And I got those Polk Audio speakers for half off. They were like $100. I got them for like $50, and they've always kind of been my background speakers for like a bedroom. And so, but you get great personality by buying speakers. I got some 20-year-old Bowers and Wilkins speakers as my mains in this room. I got a B&W center channel. I got some Edifier Bluetooth actual speakers, not actual stereo. I got some Boston acoustic speakers down here from 1997 that are 8-inch woofers. That have a really good beat. In my other room, I have like 4 different sets of speakers. In my other bedroom, I have 2 different sets of speakers. Like, I have backup. Like, I have 5 different amplifiers. I have multiple mixers. I have 6 turntables. I have 3 CD players. I have 2 cassette players right now. Like, just buy really cool component stereos. Make yourself a stereo in every room you have, and when you go to a record store, it'll just allow you to buy whatever you want, and you just put it in and play it. Don't worry about like getting a brand new copy of it and having a pristine copy. If what's going to happen is you're going to really like the album, right? You're going to play the shit out of it, right? And then you're going to probably need another copy. I'm assuming you're probably like 20, 25, like if you're getting into, maybe you're 10 years old, like I was getting into collecting music that early, but whatever age you are below like 20, 25, you're going to get another copy of it in the future. So just, even if it's a VG or VG plus rated record for the cover, like, buy it for $4, $5, $6 and enjoy it and see if you actually want to spend $30, $40 on a new copy of it. Like, I think that's the thing that really kind of gets people down about like record collecting is they're going to these record stores that are only selling new records or buying them online or just doing pre-orders, and they're getting like 3 records for $120. Like, man, go to a used CD store and get $2 CDs and enjoy the music and come home with a stack of 20 CDs for $100 than 2 brand new albums of something you probably already heard. And like, you need to expand your buying. Like, take chances if you don't know what to buy. Just that's what we did back in the day. Did it on art, cool art. Hey, that's a cool art. I don't know what's on it, but I'm gonna buy it. See what's on it. Like, take a chance. Rant over. Like, the people that are frustrated with the electronic uh, industry, the whole business of it, and I get it. I'm in a lot deeper than probably the average person is. A lot deeper. Not just I'm not just saying that because I press my own copies of records and I run a label and stuff like that. I run a couple labels. Like, I'm interested in, I'm into like the licensing and all that kind of stuff and all that stuff. Like, that's another side as well. But like, as far as like buying music and secondhand music and buying reissues, because I'm a record collector before I'm not even a record. I just love music. So I'm not saying like be like me, but I'm just saying easier. Music is here to be enjoyed, right? Like, if the way you're buying music and the way the prices and reissues and the quality, and if that stuff is getting you down, then you need to reset your enjoyment of music, because I don't understand what, like, okay, you're frustrated about buying expensive reissues. Okay, well then don't go buy the original. If that's expensive, then go buy it on CD. Is there another format on? If it's too expensive, then okay, we'll go download it, listen to it on YouTube for free until you eventually get a copy and go search buy something else. That's what's really important about having a lot of genres to chase. Like, you're always digging for music. Like, if you don't like the way somebody releases their music, like, I'm not a Tool fan, right? But the way that Tool released like that one album where it was like 6 sides and there was one side on each, and then there was an etching on the other side, and people were like, "Do I have to really spend $100 for this box set? Can't you just put out a double vinyl?" And then they did like a year later. So all those people that paid $80 to $100, like, I'm sure that would piss you off. Like, I can understand that to the extreme, but that's your fault for buying it. Like, they wanted to present that as the ultimate package, so let them do that. Eventually, everything gets reissued. Eventually, everything will probably get put out again. So just say, okay, well, I'll just listen on YouTube for the next 5 years until they bring out a double record. It's gonna happen. Like, everything gets reissued, and if you don't like that, go buy a CD of it. Like, record it off of friends. Get a cassette player. Take your cassette player over there, or tell them to bring it over next time they come over, and just dub it onto a cassette, and you'll have it, and you'll enjoy it that way. God, like, people really frustrate me when they go on these tangents of the record buying industry. Like, yeah, there's people taking advantage of it. Yeah, there's people secondhand pricing the record high. Yeah, there's some people that are selling the records right out of the get go and making limited copies and making it hard for you to get a copy. Yeah, it's been like that. Like, welcome to vinyl. Like, welcome to record collecting. Like, it's been like that for a long time. Get over it and work yourself through it, or don't follow that record label, or don't follow that artist. Like, if you don't like how they're putting out their art, then don't buy it. Like, it frustrates me to see people frustrated with the industry. Like, it's about the music. Like, don't let those things get you down. Like, there's a bigger picture here. You're here to enjoy the music. You're here to um if you can't get the music, yeah, can you not enjoy it? I get it, but find your way around it. Like, it's online, right? Just play it online. There's plenty of stuff that I'm not going to spend over $60 that I might want. I kind of put my limit around $60 for something that's used. I'm not going to spend over $60 for anything used. Unless it's like, maybe if it was a box set or something huge, but even so, I put my limit at $60. There's only maybe 4 or 5 times I've ever spent over $60 for anything used. I've never bought a used box set, I don't think. Well, maybe I have, but I don't think it was over $60. But I can count on like one hand how many times I've spent over $60. I just don't do it. If it's too expensive for you, or you think you can enjoy the music another way, and what it allows you to do is it allows you to buy other music. So spend your music otherwise. If you're just following like, oh, I'm into heavy metal and there's like 10 bands that I follow and that's all I follow and now I get everything from those, that's fine. But don't let it frustrate you when one of the 10 bands you can't get the copy of a record for inexpensive, or it sells out, or what have you, or you miss the pre-order or something like that. If you don't like it, move on. Go enjoy another band. I don't know. I don't let the industry and the business side of it interfere with me enjoying music. And I think if you guys do that, if there's any tip I can give you, if there's any way that the business side of music doesn't ruin your enjoyment for music, then you will be better off and you'll be a happier person. And when you listen to music and you look at your collection, you will be happy with it and you'll be like, oh, I got this for $2. Versus, yeah, I just spent $40 for that reissue. Like, come on, just get the music, right? I spent $2 on this CD. I got just as much enjoyment out of this as if I would have bought a $40 copy of this, which actually just got reissued recently. But, you know, it depends how your money is on. It depends how your pockets are, right? I always tell people that I get into this, do not let, it's okay. I mean, I spent all my extra money on music for the longest time. Just up to recently, like 2 years ago, I really had, because I moved different states and, working for myself now and I'm not working at a job. And so, you go through periods of where you have more money and sometimes you have lesser money and that happens, right, in your life. So don't let that affect how you buy music. I mean, yeah, it's not going to allow you to buy as much music, but that's okay. Wait a couple of years, you make more money, go back and buy that stuff, right? So, I mean, don't let it like ruin your enjoyment of music just because you can't afford it. Like, buy what you can, enjoy it, but think about the other ways that you can get less expensive music. I don't know. It's just my thinking. I just don't want it to ever anything to ever interfere with the music, and that goes why I have a lot of component stereos, because I like to plug in and play. Man, I can't tell you all the drama that I had in the last 2 months trying to. God, like 2 months ago, I went to SoulSeek for the very first time and downloaded some stuff because I needed some music for a few parties that I don't necessarily buy for stuff. Like I'm doing a Halloween DJing at a Halloween fair this coming Saturday, so I needed to buy some more Halloween music. I like Halloween music. You know what I mean? Some cheesy stuff and some cool stuff. If you ever get a chance, check out Midnight Syndicate. They do some really darker kind of Halloween stuff, and it's really cool. They've been doing music since the mid '90s. Um, what was I going to say? So yeah, so I wanted to buy some other, I mean, just to get some other random Halloween background music, right? Like Monster Mash and, Weird Science and, just some odd stuff that I didn't necessarily have. And man, so see, just, man, it just, with my, software protection on my computer, it was just wigging out and I was just getting frustrated and I was just like, God, man, I had to, mess with the program so I could download music. And then, so it wasn't a huge headache, but it was just like some are MP3s, some are FLAC, some are this, like, just give me a CD. You know what I mean? Like I love the idea of just buying something and playing it. Like digital music sometimes sometimes it's just frustrating. Um, but yeah, we can get back to the last few CDs I wanted to show. I reviewed this earlier this week, the Lightning Seeds Cuckoo Land from 1990. Really good indie pop, kind of electronic as well. I reviewed this a couple of weeks ago, Moby's debut album, Moby. I also reviewed this one, Simple Minds, Sparkle in the Rain. Reviewed that. I also reviewed Dan Curtin's Silicon Dawn from 1994. This is on Peace Frog Records, right? Really cool ambient techno. I reviewed this, Faith No More's Angel Dust from 1992. I also reviewed Massive Attack's 1994 album, Protection. And lastly, yesterday I reviewed Utah Saints' debut album in 1992. So yeah, those are some of the stuff I've been listening to the last 30 days, and a few of those I got a chance to reveal. So I don't want to make this video any longer. Sorry about the rant about collecting, but I saw a couple of videos yesterday about people, them ranting about, just the industry and their lack of enjoyment on collecting music, and it just kind of bugs me. Most of the times I ignore it. And I'm just like, yeah, they're just, everybody's got a gripe, right? Everybody's ranting. Here I'm ranting about people ranting. So am I any better? No, but I'm just trying to coach you, help you. If you're one of those persons out there that's frustrated about the business side and the collecting side of electronic music, I mean of music in general, is just don't let it get frustrated. There's a lot. I just went over all the reasons. Some of the reasons. I mean, I could probably go on for another hour about how to get through these times and still enjoy music and what. But I'm just trying to help people think about the music. That's the most important thing. That's why you're collecting, right? Follow the music, widen your range of music that you like, widen your taste, expand your taste, buy something that you normally wouldn't buy. Support secondhand stores where you can go in and get a lot of music for cheaper. There's a lot of music online that's great music for cheap. Like I sold some jazz records yesterday, like $2-3 a pop. Paul Weston, Stan Kenton records. Dave Brubeck records. I mean, $2, $3, $4 records. Original copies in the 50s, 10-inch, 12-inch records. I'm selling a jazz collection from a friend. I have about 600 or 700 jazz records in my side room that I'm selling for him online, and I sold a bunch of them yesterday. And I mean, there's a lot of inexpensive, good music out there to enjoy. Don't spend if you don't like the price you're spending on records, then don't buy it. Look for other less expensive music that you can enjoy. All right, thanks so much for watching what I've been listening to last week. This was the second episode of this. All right, thanks so much.